Well, Naya, I have a question for you. And here is the question. What is worse than one company that Christians have some valid concerns about and may or may not be corrupting our children?
I don't know, Daniel. What's worse?
What is worse is two companies
Oh
that may, in
no.
fact, doing that. And not only that these two companies exist side by side, but that they may now exist in close partnership. So there's been a thing, it's just kind of news swirling around that I think is really interesting for Christians. And it's one of those stories that I think, I don't know, like me and you, people that are like into the pop culture sort of cinema world, it matters to us. I don't know if people that are just sort of general Christians audiences, I don't know. I don't know if it's this type of story that will catch their attention, but I think there's some relevance. I think there's some stuff that we should, as Christians, care about this because I think it will influence kind of the future of entertainment and in ways that we may not fully understand. Like I don't fully understand all the implications. I just think I see how it relates to some trends and stuff that I don't know, I find very interesting. So maybe, and you may need to help me kind of understand some of what this thing is. So kind of the news as we've been looking through it is like TikTok, everyone's favorite streaming platform.
Maybe the most addictive one, at
Yeah,
least.
and one of the most like influential and popular, at least with like younger generations. And Disney, who's still sort of the premier entertainment studio, like they're always at the top of like earnings and like they're sort of these two kind of entertainment social media giants have joined forces like back in the old wrestling days. The tag team they're joining forces to essentially bring sort of that TikTok energy, TikTok vibe to Disney, and specifically to, at least for now, like Disney Plus platform. So maybe you kind of walk me through this because I'm still sort of trying to figure out exactly what this
Yeah.
will look like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, that they made a deal, and that deal, the specifics of it are that TikTok creators are allowed to use Disney IP now, so they're allowed to use Disney characters, Disney clips from Disney films and TV shows with like no copyright, or as far as I know, nothing like that, and so the most popular TikToks basically are going to be put on Disney Plus's version of TikTok called Verts. And so I think it'll be available on the app, and it's just TikTok on Disney Plus with Disney characters, and there's even like career development opportunities for the top creators, which great, like develop your career, but I don't know. It seems really dangerous. One of the quotes that made me kind of nervous is that the I think it was Josh D'Armo, the new CEO, or someone high up at Disney said that ideally this will make users stay longer and engage more and should help them discover new shows, which cool, discover new shows. What worries me is already how addictive social media is, specifically TikTok, and we've seen all of these court cases of like Meta knowing how addictive and dangerous these tools were to specifically young women, and not doing anything about it or even attempting to make it more addictive.
What you're saying very nicely is this is just the worst. Like I don't fully understand all of what this will look like what a Disneyfied TikTok on Disney Plus. Like we'll kind of need to see some of that. But it is a continuation of sort of this like TikTokification of everything else, like where everything's sort of these shorts and these sort of and it's funny too because you see some of these quotes from and I don't want to downplay the creativity that goes into some of these videos,
yeah, for sure.
but you see a lot of these quotes like we're just excited this authentic partnership and creation, and it's like all these guys care about is that people are addicted to their platform. Like they can talk all nobly about elevating creators. Yeah. It's like they want people to just live and breathe on their platform.
It's a great business decision.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and it's and it is kind of a continuation too, because like they had like a whole partnership. I don't know if you followed at all, like with Sora, which was like the text to video kind of AI thing from OpenAI, which sounded even worse than this because it was just like, we're going to bring AI generated clips to our platforms.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
does anyone, is that what people wanted from the platform? But Sora AI got shut down. So this is sort of like it seems like kind of their pivot.
It's their plan B.
Not that they would, I think they would have done it anyways, but
Yeah.
it's like, hey, we're not going to have AI stuff. We can just have these sort of humans that can just generate more Disney content for us, mostly free of charge. And I'll be honest, I can't take something called verts all that seriously. It makes me think of like even like youth groups at church. They all need some like super hip names like Velocity and all these. They're all sort of the same, but they all kind of sound like they're trying just too hard. But even like I wasn't even familiar that this was a thing. So I actually downloaded Disney Plus on my phone. Because why not watch
Going
Disney?
undercover. Yeah.
While I'm on my phone. And like you can find it. It's only on the mobile. Like you can't find it on your TV or whatever. But like essentially right now, all it is little advertising clips from their movies. I don't know, like if that a lot of people are just scrolling. Oh, more ads for Disney Plus. So you can see that like the foundation of it. That you just sort of have these clips. You're not watching a whole movie. You're just you're scrolling through. It's all about Disney, and then it's gonna kind of point you hopefully in Disney's eyes towards watching more of their stuff. There's some issues with this for me. Maybe there's some good that can come out of it, and people that love Disney are going to be just jazzed about the fact they get more Disney stuff. The quote that stood out to me was the CEO, the new Disney CEO, who I think is about a year. I forget when
since March.
So he's new.
Even.
So he's a lot of these changes seem to be because they got a new top dog in charge. But he was speaking. This is actually back several months ago, where he was sort of announcing some of these things. And he said this. He said, "This is specifically important when we think about Gen Alpha, obviously the newest generation of Disney fans. What we're doing is experimenting with short form content in a variety of ways." And this sort of quote is, like all the, which I push back on often, but the like Disney's coming after your kids. Like this is sort of fuel for that. And I have 2 Gen Alpha kids. So that is sort of my generation that they're sort of targeting with this type of, like my kids can grow up in a world where they can enjoy some verts on their phone nonstop about Disney. Maybe they can become a verts creator. But I think kind of where I land on some of this stuff, why I do think it is important is I think like for Christians, a lot of the focus gets put on like the actual, I don't know, like the content, like the movie, like a new Disney movie comes out and a lot of it's maybe overblown and outrage and silly. But there's a lot of the focus is on like this thing is influencing us. There's a new Pixar movie. Let's talk about that. Not as much gets talked about like the system, like, the actual behind the scenes, like the philosophies that are driving the companies. But I think the systems matter. Like the systems are what influence what the content is. Like, I think this sort of shift towards kind of this like whatever, like creator economy, social media version of entertainment where it's all short. It's a lot of personality based, not just like, not that
that's bad, but
but I guess it's like more, it's not just like, hey, this director made this movie and they're actors and stuff. It's like, hey, Jeff Smith's my favorite Disney vert creator, and like I follow him, and he's making stuff, and
I wonder if like the vert creators will, or the the TikTokers, if they will end up being in more Disney stuff because they're going to become more popular from verts and people are going to want to see more of them. And so I'm wondering if like because the star power is a real thing. It hasn't been as prominent, I think, in recent days, which is really, really cool. But I think with the popularity of TikTok and even Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, that might start to rise again. But instead of being with like actors, like classically trained actors, it's these creators are going to be in like the next Star Wars movie. It's like Emma Chamberlain and all of these YouTubers.
It's crazy too, because like that is like me speaking as a parent. You're not a parent yet, but like even like my kids and stuff, like their generation, their school, like when when they talk about, like, what do you want to be when you grow up and stuff, like, it's crazy to me that I would say 70% or more is like a content creator, a YouTuber.
Yeah.
It's not, I want to, like, I feel like when I was their age, I want to like be a professional athlete, or
Yeah.
I want to be an actor in Hollywood. I want to be in the next Star Wars movie and stuff. And now it's like, oh, I want to be like a TikTok, a content creator. And I think the more systems we have in place that, like, hey, do this, make us sort of free advertising content, and you may find your own stardom. Like, there's just some icky stuff to me in some of that. But I think also just like we were looking, and we've talked about it before at the Collision, but just the fact that I think as Christians we've not turned a blind eye, but just haven't maybe adapted to the fact that, like, this sort of social media content just how big that is. Like, we're still very much, I think, in a lot of ways, like, locked into the, like, Hollywood, like, it's the movies and that's sort of the big thing, where, like, it's not like, like, a lot of these streaming platforms aren't even really competing with each other as much as YouTube and TikTok. Like, that's the stuff that is really consuming time and driving, the driving force. Like, even I know some stats that we had pulled up for some other stuff we did, like, that I found, like, YouTube, like, it's like on a TV, like, it's not even phones, which you would assume is mostly, other than Verts, is mostly like social media stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just on a TV, YouTube is like 13% of the viewing, and like Disney is 5%, Netflix is like the biggest at 8%. So, like, even like just people sitting in their living room watching a TV, it's still more content creation, content creators, social media than it is.
So tailored to you. I think that's why, and it's so much easier than trying to sit through some, like, a Breaking Bad episode, which is one of the greatest shows ever, but, like, you have to focus on what's going on, or even Peaky Blinders, something like that. You have to sit down and focus and think through what's going on, instead of just, like, I don't know, sitting and watching some guy blow up things with his tank that he bought from his YouTube money,
As we do.
Yeah.
And I think part of the thing too is, like, and this is me speaking as a parent, but, like, I think kind of the old school model is like, okay, how do you sort of protect your kid, help them engage with, not just in like a totally sheltered way, but just like help them engage. It's a lot easier to do that when it's like, okay, there's like 2 Pixar movies that coming out this year, and we can help them, and we can do our research and see what it is and help them walk through it, or avoid it if there's stuff we don't want. It's harder when sort of the new model is, oh, now there's like an endless ocean of people that we don't know, we don't have time to check out.
Yeah.
A lot of them, you constantly see these stories that, that culture can also breed a type of person that isn't necessarily the one that you'd want your kids to sort of follow after, and they can say things, and there's just horror stories with all of that coming out. And it's just sort of this new, I don't know, it's like a new paradigm. And I think as the church, we've sort of seen, like, there's the social media part, and then there's like the entertainment Hollywood part. And we mostly focus on that, maybe not the social media. And I think that's why, for me, something like this is interesting, this deal with TikTok and Disney, is you sort of see those coming together of, like, okay, you can't really just segment, like, sort of that, the stuff that we worry about with the social media and the stuff that we worry about or just want to engage with. Like, it's all coming together.
Yeah.
Like, there's a future where that line is very blurred, and Hollywood and social media and all that stuff is just sort of this big mess of culture that we have to, like, engage with or help kids engage with or process and just be aware of what's going on, which is why, I don't know, I think this is like, I'm assuming you're not going to be a huge Vert watcher.
I don't even have Disney Plus, so there's no way that I'm gonna be able to. I don't have any.
Will this inspire you though?
I'm a recovering social media addict. I will say, like, it's so I don't have any social media on my phone. This is why this worries me so much, because I grew up when Instagram, like, was invented and became a thing, and so, like, even especially in recent years, have really noticed the toll that it's taken on just how my brain is developed, and it's really scary. And so I don't have any social media on my phone, but I'm still find myself, like, when I wake up or when I'm going to bed, reaching for my phone to find anything to get that dopamine hit. And so, like, sometimes it's like random, like, little short videos on Spotify. I just scroll through Depop and just heart different, like, items of clothing. It's bad. It's really bad. And like when you have TikTok, when I had TikTok, I was on it for hours and hours out of a day. So that's why this worries me so much, because it is so addicting, especially to younger people, to your boys if they ever have verts. It's really hard to avoid, and it's really hard to get off of, more so than I think a lot of people even realize or understand.
Yeah, and it's just sort of one of those, and this is sort of the last thing that I was thinking. Like, it is sort of one of those like perpetual circles. Like, I feel like you're a great example of, and I've heard it from a lot of other, because you're a Gen Z. I feel like more awareness of like, hey, this actually I don't need this in my life. Like, it's actually not feeding me. And like, obviously, there's still lots of people, and there's not just Gen Z. Like, I know many boomers and stuff that are totally addicted to their. So it's not like a young generation thing, but like, it does seem like, I think in many ways, like the pushback to unplug from it is being driven by Gen Z and younger generations of like, actually, there's a better way. I guess we're so oversaturated with it, and that's why some of this is like, I guess this for like my kids and stuff. Like, I think there has been more awareness of like, we don't necessarily need everything in our life to be personality based and content based and short and sort of continual scroll. But it's just harder to sort of unplug from that when it's more and more prevalent. Like when everywhere you look, like when even just turning on, Disney, hey, I could watch a show on Saturday. If even that becomes like, oh, well, here's a kind of video, and there's the next one, or these 5 aren't interesting, but that 6th video, that 6th verse, that's going to be the one that is really funny, and like, it's just sort of, I don't know, it's sort of the water that we swim in, and it's hard to get out of the pool when it just continually kind of, expands and expands and consumes us. So I don't know. I think these sort of stories, who knows? I think there is also like a couching of like, this may very well fall flat and no one actually uses it, and it's just sort of Disney trying to like project ahead of like, we don't want to be, this might not work, but if it does work, we don't want to be left behind. So we're going to try and do it, is what a lot of these companies, even with AI and some of the stuff, it's just, let's just see in case. So maybe this turns out to be nothing. But I think just the fact that it is being tried and that it is consuming or like infiltrating sort of traditional entertainment, just that alone shows kind of where the winds are blowing and like sort of how this is working. So I don't know. I'm curious. I won't be one that necessarily watches a lot of verts on my Disney Plus mobile app, but I will be following this story just to see kind of what is sort of the world that as Christians we are called to sort of engage with and make sure that we are, I don't know, like aware of like the current trends and not trying to sort of navigate a world that is sort of being left behind years ago.